Hello.
Hi Ranju,
Hi, Guru. Good morning.
good morning.
Hello.
Good morning Ranju.
Is my voice echoing, Guru? No, right?
No Ranju.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Hi, Archisha.
Hi.
Hi. We're just waiting for others to join in, Archisha.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining.
sure. Hello.
Hi Munideepa, we are able to hear you. Is there any issue that you're facing?
No, I think I figured it out. I logged in.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right. We're just waiting for the team at Google to join. They're just waiting for the meeting room to be free. So that should be like a minute or two. Yeah,
Yeah. No problem. Thanks.
great. Okay,
And Rohini is gonna log in from a different place. I am logged in from a different place.
no problem. Sure. Okay.
Alright. Thank you. one of us has.
Yes, I think that's because I switched on. Hey guys, good morning. Sorry, we're just figuring out our mics and all. Hey Renju, good morning.
Hey, hi Uma.
Hi. Yeah, we're just figuring out. There seems to be a little bit of an echo. Just bear with us
Yeah,
2 minutes.
no problem. Sure.
Thank you.
Uma, can you hear us now? Fine.
Yeah, Varsha, I can hear you perfectly fine. Is everyone else also able to hear both Varsha and me clearly?
Yes, yes, Uma. It's clear.
Okay. All right, amazing. So, Asta is actually just running in a little late. Varsha, do you mind muting for a minute? I'll just quickly do some
Sure.
control. Thank you. So, hey guys, good morning, and thanks for bearing with us while we were figuring out the audio issues yet again. And thanks again for joining for the second session. We really hope you found the first session helpful enough, and you all being here is sort of like a testament to the first session going well. So, we're really glad to have you all with us again. From last time, so we have Adriza who had trained you on the beginners session, and we couldn't have Sumana join us this time, and but we have Varsha, who's also a part of our AdWords team, and she's been working with AdWords for the last couple of years. Fun fact: Adriza and Varsha both work at the same team along with myself at Google. So yeah, it's good to have new trainers showing interest, and we hope you find this training useful as well. I'm just going to hand over to Adriza and Varsha now. Unless Rinju, you want to add something from your end?
No, thanks, Uma. I'm glad there's Vasha joining us, and thank you, Adriza, for joining again. I had emailed you guys that they had just Bethany Society was unable to join today, but we'll ensure that Akila from Tech for Good has been in touch with him, so we'll ensure that whatever is taught today is passed on to him as well, and progress is made by the time we have our next session. So I thought I'll just update you guys on that. But otherwise, good to go. We have. Quick introductions. We have Archisha from Educate Girls. We have Monideepa from the Azim Premji Foundation. We have Rohini also from the Azim Premji Foundation who's just joined. And we have Vinay from Vasan. So, yeah, let's have a
Amazing.
great session. Yeah, thank
Great.
you.
Thanks for the update, Rinju. I believe like we can send over the live stream link to Prakash later as well, and hopefully he should be
Sure.
able to catch up. And in
Yeah,
case he does need help, he can always just we can get on a quick call or something to figure it out.
absolutely. Yeah.
Super. Over to you guys, Adriza and Varsha.
Okay. Hi, guys. So the way we have, are you able to hear us clearly?
Yes, yeah.
Cool. So the way we have structured today's session is that we'll do a quick recap of what we had studied and asked you guys to maybe go back and look at some brand campaigns, generic campaigns. So we'll do a quick recap of that. Then Varsha will take us through the Google Ads performance metrics and then a few reports and then why it is required to keep your accounts active and what are the best practices according to that. So, without much ado, we'll just get started. So, I just wanted to check if you guys have any questions from last time. The first question would be if you have created different brand and generic campaigns, how did you go about it? If anybody wants to volunteer, and any questions from the module that you were asked to cover, the search fundamentals module that was asked to cover. So if you guys have any question, let's take some time to clarify those. So any volunteers who would like to talk about their brand and generic campaigns, how they have gone about it?
Archisha, you want to give it a go?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, go ahead.
Hi. So at Educate Girls, we created two ad groups,
Mm-hmm.
and each of these ad groups had two ads. So we wanted to go mostly to our donate page, the landing page. So three of our ads go to the donate page, and one goes to what we do. So everything was approved except we faced an issue last week that didn't comply with the policy guidelines or something. So we had to remove some of the keywords.
Okay.
And after that, it did work.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just going through the ad groups again, and in the status bar, it shows approved. But when you click on it, it's showing this ad isn't showing now. And we currently can't determine why your ad isn't showing.
So when we say that the ad is not showing, is it could be that even if it is aligned to all the best practices, the keywords that you have might not have any searches. Exactly why that ad has not shown currently.
Yeah, so
So
it shows ad tested with keyword foundation. So one keyword doesn't lead to that.
exactly. So basically, whatever keyword that you have and the search that happened do not tie completely, and exactly why that particular ad might not have shown up for that. But you mentioned that you have created two ad groups, one brand and one generic, and you have three ads, or rather three ads that lead to your landing donate page, and one ad that leads to your what we do. So can you explain me the division of the ads for brand and generic? So, like, are all the brand ads leading to the landing page of donate? Like, how is it structured?
Yes, these ads are landing to the donate page, and then I'm not very sure. I mean,
No, no worries. So I'll just try and maybe explain you with this particular like thing that I have. So let's say this test campaign that we had created earlier. Just one sec, okay. Right. So basically, one ad group can have a certain number of ads, right? So what
yeah.
I'm trying to understand is how are you dividing those ads between your brand ad group and your generic ad group? So for this particular campaign has one ad group and has no ads currently, but how is your structure set up?
So this is, I think, one campaign, and
Yeah.
the ad group one, both
Hmm.
the ads have a donate page,
Okay.
and the ad group two also one of them is donate page and one of them is what we do. So
Got
that's
it.
how we have divided. We actually wanted all our ads to go to donate page, but we found it very similar.
Yeah.
So that's why we just created one what we do.
Got it. So that's a kind of a good structure, but as per the best practices that we have, or the way we kind of say that this is like a set way of doing it. So it is good to have your brand campaign completely separate and your generic campaign completely separate. Why we say that is because you might want to invest a certain amount in your brand and a certain amount in your generic. And it also happens that if you keep your brand and generic keywords in the same campaign, it is seen that the majority of the traffic is taken by your brand keywords, because that's already quite famous, and the generic keywords do not get a chance to show up at all. So if you want to give the generic keywords a good amount of, let's say, visibility, it is good to keep them in a separate campaign where you can have a dedicated budget for them. So that's like something that you can do going forward as well.
Yeah, sure, we'll do that.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yeah, one more thing that I wanted to call out is the way you write the ads for your brand keywords, like tying back to your brand keywords and tying back to your generic keywords, is also a bit different, because sometimes your brand ads need a certain amount of clarity, like, okay, this is my brand, this is how I want to advertise. So that's fine. But when you are having like generic keywords, which are not at all related to your brand, it is required that the keywords that you have chosen are used in the ad, maybe in some small proportion, so that your ad relevance is good. So just two things. It is good to have your brand and generic campaigns differently, so that you can allocate budgets differently. And also the way you write your ads for brands and generic is also something that you can take into consideration, because generics might have lesser ad relevance if you do not write them nicely, taking into account the keywords that you have selected. Any questions on extensions, or Tisha mentioned that she had some issues with policy initially and then it got clarified. Anybody else who had any issues and would like to talk about that? And also the extensions, are they clear? Like, what are site limits?
Rohini and Munideepa, do you want to just give a quick update to Adriza and Varsha about what APF faced?
Yeah, hi. Um, so the thing is, see, we set up the account and then we got it went in review for roughly over a week, and after that, it says more processing needed. So we reached out to Asta, and Asta told us that there are some issues with the setting up of the account, so we'll have to redo it. She also said that we would have got an email, but the ID that we used in the Google for non-for-profit for the ad grant, we've not got any email on that. So the challenge is what, because we followed step-by-step process as was told to us, and after a lot of troubleshooting and all. So now today I'm going to sit with somebody from the IT team and attempt the same again. But I mean, I don't know what is it that is missing, what is more needed, because we didn't get an email. So where are we supposed to get an email is the question. I mean, I on the email ID that we've used for the non-for-profit, we've not got any email saying, okay, this is missing or that is missing. So unfortunately, we want to start using that, the sooner the better for us. But unfortunately, that is where we are stuck.
Uma, are you aware of this? Do you want to take this question?
Yes, I was just about to jump in. Thanks, Adriza. So, thanks for sharing those details there, Monideepa. Asta has just joined in, and while you were telling us exactly what's been happening at your end, I was just catching up with her. If it's okay with you, either Asta and I would be happy to get on a phone call with you later today to actually go over this and see, what part of it might have gone wrong and what needs to be fixed,
Sure,
just so that
that
we
will be
can
very
we
helpful.
can
Yeah,
keep on time here.
sure. That will be very helpful. So
Absolutely. So we can both of us, Astha or myself, we'll give you a call sometime later today. Let's connect on email first and figure out a time, and
sure,
we can discuss this.
that will be helpful. Thank you.
All right, great. Adriza, back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, okay, any more questions on the Google Ads fundamentals? Otherwise, Varsha can start with the performance metrics that we have and a few more things that she wanted to cover.
Great. Vinay, do you have anything to add, Vinay?
Okay. He has some issues regarding setting up the account. Oh, his mic is not okay. So, Vinay, if you want, somebody could connect with you as well later on from the team with account setup if that helps. No, you should not be sharing your screen because your account does not have to be shown to other people. So right now we can just park this and speak to you offline. Like somebody, you can just call us or something. Okay, it's just an email that he wants to show. Is this like Umar? Is it okay if he shares the screen, or let's take this offline, Vinay, if that's okay?
Okay, I see Vinay is already sharing his screen. Okay, so there are some reasons due to which his ad grants could not be worked.
Process.
Again, Rinju, is this something that your team and maybe one of us and myself can take up
Yes, yeah, yeah.
with
Let's
these
do that.
guys?
Let's do that. Yes, yeah. So I think for both APF and for Vasan, we'll make a plan post this call and take it forward.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds good.
Yeah, great. Adriza, I think you can just go ahead with today's session then.
Cool.
We'll keep this in mind. Yeah.
Thanks, Vinay.
Thanks, Rinju.
Sorry.
All right. Thanks for that recap, guys, and thanks, Adriza. So now we'll just go through some of the metrics that we have on Google Ads, which help us evaluate how the campaigns that we've set up are doing. We'll actually so how do we so basically with anything that we set up, we want to understand what should we really be looking at in order to understand whether our ads are actually being seen by the correct people, whether we are getting traffic from our ads or not, and how things are moving. So some of the common metrics that we usually look at are things like impressions. So impressions, clicks, CTR. I believe some of these may have been covered in the last session as well, but an impression is nothing but every time your ad shows up on a Google search result, it is counted as an impression. And I'll actually just skip to the account to show how we can view all of these in a report. So for example, if you can see my screen here in the ad group report here, while we do not have any data on this currently, yeah, while this campaign does not have any data, but we can see that there are other campaigns here which have data. And essentially, if we look at the metrics that we want to see, that we want to track closely, is first, how often have our ads really shown up? And if you want to figure that out, then impressions is what we look at. So it's counted every time your ad is served. And then we want to understand the effectiveness of our ad, so whether people are clicking on it or not. And that's something that we can figure out by looking at the number of clicks that we've received. So every time somebody clicks on an ad, it's counted here. But how to understand whether each ad, so when we want to go to the level of each ad, we can go into the ads and extensions report and understand how each ad is performing. We look at something called CTR or click through rate. So we can also look at this metric at a campaign level or a keyword level to understand how a particular keyword is driving that behavior for us, or how a particular ad or a campaign on the whole is doing. So click-through rate is nothing but clicks divided by total impressions received for that particular ad or keyword or campaign. So this is a measure of how effective our ads are. So for example, in the case that Archasha just mentioned. So the ad was not approved initially, so it may have been due to some policy violations. Maybe it was linked to a wrong keyword, or in some cases where the ad is still not showing up, it's probably because the keyword that are present in that ad group are not relevant to the ad. So how we can really improve our CTR is also something that we'll see ahead. But basically, it comes down to having relevant keywords in the ad groups and then creating ads that would match those keywords. Some of the other metrics that we look at then is cost. This is nothing but how much we've spent on that particular ad or campaign. And then, of course, conversions. Now, conversions can mean different things for different websites and different entities. So, for example, the donate page. So, somebody comes and donates, makes a donation through the donate page. That can be a conversion. In a case where, like, let's say you have a helpline number listed and you are directing people to that helpline page and you want them to call, then that can also be a conversion. So we will also come to conversions when we go ahead and define some of the best practices needed to keep the account live. But basically, a conversion is any event on your website that you want to track closely. It might be downloading a guide, it might be downloading a brochure, or calling a helpline, making a donation. Things like that count as conversions. And then we have cost per conversion. So, for example, we want to understand how much we have paid for getting that conversion. So, we look at something like cost per conversion. Broadly, these are some of the larger uh, aspects at a campaign or a keyword level that we look at. Then there's also something called quality score. So, especially in relation to the ads and keywords that we put into the ad groups, uh, there's something called a quality score. And how can you see it is you can go to columns and you can search here as well. You can search for anything that you want, any of them. One second. Sorry. You can see it at a keyword level because quality score is for particular keywords. So you have an entire section here for quality score. And the components of quality score broadly are your expected CTR, your landing page experience, and your ad relevance. Now, I'll explain each of these. So, first of all, let's start with ad relevance. So, this is something that we talked about in terms of do the keywords and the ad copies that we have created match each other. For example, if somebody is looking for girls education online or free girls education online or NGOs supporting girls education, then is your ad also carrying ad copy elements that talk about the same thing? So that is ad relevance. The next thing that is counted for quality score is your landing page experience. So when that ad is clicked, where does it take the user? If the ad talks about girls education but it lands on a completely different page, let's say that talks about maybe a flood in some area, then that's obviously not the correct landing page experience. Or even in that's a very extreme example, but in case like let's say it leads to a page for girls education but the page is not structured well, it does not have clear call outs, it does not have a clear flow, then the landing page experience for the user is not good. And then expected CTR is a metric that Google calculates basis past searches as to how likely is a person to click on your ad. All these three things together combine and make your quality score. Now, where quality score is important is quality score determines whether your ad shows up or not. So if you have a below average on any of these three metrics, and your quality score is actually a score out of 10. So let's look at the quality score column. Let's add it. Let's also add each of these columns here. And let's look at how they look in the report. So for this particular keyword, we see that there hasn't actually been enough data to generate any of these quality scores. So yeah, so unfortunately, right now we do not have data in this account, but basically for the, I would actually encourage that if you have your accounts open right now, do try and go back into the keywords tab and add these columns and see if you can see all these figures here. Yeah. So any questions so far? Okay, so didn't understand the conversion and cost per conversion. So sorry, we'll just go back to that. But so far, anything on quality score? Okay, so conversion and cost per conversion. So like we were discussing, Rohini, that a conversion is anything that you want to track on your website. So if you have a donate page and you want people to come and use that to make donations online, then every time somebody makes a donation through your website, you count that as a conversion. And in order to set that up, there's a little bit of technical detail that goes onto your website. It's a code that has to be added to your website to set up something called conversion tracking. So, yeah, Rohini, do you have a question?
No, so okay, I just wanted to understand how do you track that? So you said conversion tracker. So it's the HTML code that has to be plugged
Yes.
in, right? Okay.
So,
And without that, we'll not be able to get, because I'm talking more from say how many people apply. So I'll not be
yeah.
able to track how many people applied from my ad, how many clicked from my ad and went and applied till I don't put that tracker on my website.
Yes, that's right. You will have to put that conversion tracking in place, and we have steps to do that, and we'll also share that ahead.
Okay.
So you'll have to, yes, you'll have to ask your website designer or somebody to put that code into the website on that particular page,
Hmm.
and then the conversion will get tracked into your Google Ads account. And then how much you pay. So, for example, if you've paid 1,000 rupees on a particular campaign,
Hmm.
and that campaign has driven 10 conversions, then
Hmm.
your cost per conversion is 100 rupees.
Understood.
So, and then of course, if that is the metric that you want to track, so we'll go to that in the second section. That is, how do we really optimize for each of these things or any of these things which is important to us. So that's exactly how cost per conversion is calculated. It's nothing but your total spend divided by the number of conversions that you've received for that particular campaign or ad group or keyword.
Hmm. Okay.
All
Thanks.
right, no worries. Um, so these broadly were the kind of metrics that we want to keep track of. So first of all, if we look at it in terms of exposing people to your ad or to your organization, the first thing that is most important is to get an impression. And to get an impression, actually, it goes back to quality score and ad rank. So your quality score has to be good in order for your ad to be eligible to show an impression. After you show an impression, do people click on it? How often do people click on it? And then after that, also there's something called impression share and click share. So let's say you were eligible to show for 100 impressions, but you showed only for 50 of them. So your impression share becomes 50%. So why you didn't show for 50% of them? It could be because your ads were not relevant. So it comes back to quality score again. It could be because the amount of the bid for that particular keyword that you set or that your algorithm set was not high enough. So that could be something that drives impression share. Similarly, you have click share. So for the keywords or for the ads that you appeared for, if there were 100 clicks, but you only got clicked like 10 times, then your click share is 10%. And we understood conversions and conversion rate. And quality score, of course, is something that we will have to keep in mind and we will have to keep working towards. And we'll see even when Adriza talks about some of the ways that we can make the account better, quality score will come up as something that gets talked about repeatedly. Any other questions? We'll share this and we'll also share some of the other literature around how you can optimize these things. So we can also cover that later. Now, in terms of after we've understood these metrics, I'd like to actually ask a question. So, what do you really want your ads to do for you? And maybe like we could have a quick 2 minutes where each one of you tells us, like for example, Rohini, you mentioned that you want people to go and apply. So then that again is a conversion. But what are the others really looking for from their ads?
Maybe like Archisha, you wanted people to donate and also go to your page and say like, what do we do? So, what is your expectations for these campaigns that you are running?
Okay, donate page. Archisha said donate page, and so we have donations, we have apply. So it seems like conversions. These, as we discussed, could be counted as conversions. So driving conversions is something that's important, and then also just making people aware of your organization and what you do. That was another thing that came up. So just driving clicks to that particular page could be another objective. So fair enough. I think we'll work with that and uh, go on to how we can really tailor our campaigns to do all of these things for us. So Google Ads offers something called automated bid strategy. So I know that, so because all of you would be involved in a lot of things at your organizations, and if you want to just put your ads and your campaigns on a particular, if you, let's say, want to automate the process of the campaign doing exactly what you want it to do. So Google Ads has different ways that you can enable it. So one objective, like we discussed, could be to just drive traffic to a particular page. So what metrics do we really look at here is clicks, click-through rate, keyword performance, and what are those terms that you're appearing for. So we'll divide this section into two things. One is what are the metrics that we need to focus on for each of these objectives. And the second is how can we automate that within Google Ads, which I'll show with a live demo after we've spoken about this. So, so far, is it clear? Like if you want just traffic, then you would not focus on the conversions part of it. You would just care about clicks and your click-through rate. So you would want your click-through rate to be as high as possible, and that in itself would drive a large number of clicks if you appear for a lot of ads or if you have enough impressions. So one thing that could be done to do this is to put in a bid strategy called the maximize clicks. We'll come to that in a minute. There are also links. We'll be sharing this deck, so there would be links to each of these uh, in the at the bottom here, so you can go and read about these later as well. The other thing could be increasing sales or other types of conversions. So here, of course, we want to focus on the number of conversions that we are getting, and we want to make our landing page as suitable as possible for the person to come and convert easily. Now, here is where we were talking about setting up conversion tracking. So you have to define what it is that you count as a conversion. And like it says over here, it could be a number of things. It could include donations, purchases, sales, membership registration, email sign up, volunteer sign up, new membership form. It could even be calls to your organization, or it could be engagements with particular content on your website. The setup guide is also linked here. Uh, we'll just look at it for a minute, but the details would be, so there's also a video here that shows how to set it up. So basically, it is a, yeah.
Uh, Hi, this is Rohini.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is, see, because we are setting up this conversion tracking on the website. Now, when we our ads largely would be say on a candidate applying to us,
Yeah.
but our application tracking system is a separate software, a separate organization that runs the ATS.
Okay.
So in those cases, what happens? I mean, the candidate actually, when he goes to apply, he goes on a different microsite to apply. So
So that is fine. So the tracking code would be set up on the apply button on your website.
okay,
So
okay,
after that, he goes to another page. That is fine. But the tracking code will track that somebody has gone and clicked on the apply button.
apply button. Okay,
Yeah.
understood. Okay.
And that will count as a conversion here. And then finally, the lead, whether you get or not, would be dependent on the external system that you have in place.
Mm, mm. Okay.
So just wanted to call that out, that the steps for conversion tracking are linked here, and we will be sharing that with you, and we'll probably come to that in a minute later because that's a totally different topic. But just in terms of what we would really look for here would be the conversion rate and the cost per conversion and also the number of conversions that we are getting. Similarly, if you just want to, if you just want as many people as possible to see your brand or to see your ad, then you would look at impressions. You wouldn't care so much about clicks, maybe, because you want that every time, let's say somebody searches for NGOs that support women's education, you would show up, your ad would show up. So then you have to really closely track the impression share and the impression metric, and also something called average position. So you would have seen on a search result page, there are ads that show up, there are like 3 or 4 ads that show up, and then maybe there's some organic content, and then there are ads at the bottom as well. So that is nothing but the position at which your ad shows up. And in general, like if you showed up 50 times, on an average, if you appeared on the first position or second position, that is also something that the campaigns would be able to tell you. Uh, the other thing, I don't think this is very relevant right now for the group present here, which is ROI, but this effectively is like if you want to drive uh, conversion value, different conversion value from spending, like let's say the same amount of money or a set amount of money, then that's something that comes in the ROI or like the ROAS perspective that we talk about. But here, we'll just go into the tab and we'll talk about how we can really actually set up a bid strategy on any of these campaigns. One second. Do you have any setup at least?
Yeah, should be there. We want to open this.
Yeah. So for example, this is set up at maximize conversions. So the type of bid strategies that we have available really are maximize clicks, maximize conversions, target CPA, which will get us conversions at a particular target, and then target impression share. So which I think these are the 4 that are relevant really to the group that we have present here. So maximize clicks will just, like we discussed, with the objective of just driving traffic to a particular page. So that is when we use maximize clicks. Maximize conversions, like in the case of most of you, where you just want as many conversions as possible and you set in a daily budget. So with that set budget, it'll try and get you as many conversions as possible. The other strategy is target CPA. So let's say you decide that I can only spend 10 rupees per conversion or $10 per conversion and not more than that. So you set that as a target and you create that bid strategy. And then the algorithm will try and get you as many conversions as possible within $10. So that's the difference between maximize conversions and maximize and target CPA. And the 4th strategy that we discussed is target impression share. So for example, if we want to appear for every time that somebody searches for women's education in India, you want to appear like 50% of the time, at least. So then you set up a target impression share and you give it a target of 50%. So when you're going and when you're creating a campaign, it gives you each of these options as well. So what exactly, like we discussed, what do you want to drive? So drive sales online or get leads or get website traffic. So in our case, if we want to drive conversion, so while conversions for us would not have different values attached, like if it's donations or a form or applies. So we'll go with something called leads. So get leads and other conversions to uh, by encouraging customers to take action. So you click on this, and of course we have a search campaign. So here you can choose what type of conversion you want to track. So let's say you want to track website visits. You have to link your uh, website here. Let's say you link you go and create this. You set your target, you set your language, you set the audiences that you want to target, you set a budget, let's say you set 100. Now it asks you, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on conversions or clicks or impression share? So these are the things that we discussed right now. And depending on what really matters for that particular campaign, choose the relevant metric. So we choose conversions here. Now, do you want to set a target CPA like we discussed that if you want a $10 conversion, you set that here. Otherwise, you just move on. Yeah. So you just save and continue. So the rest of the things, adding site links, extensions are all similar to what we discussed in the last session as well. And then you have to go and create an ad group, just like you did the last time. You already have your product or service area and your website defined here. You create ads for those ad groups, and then you have your, okay, so we'll just put something here. And then you confirm your campaign, and you see that the bid strategy shows us maximize conversions, because we did not set a target. We just said that what we care about is conversions and we want to drive that. And then that's it, your campaign is created. It is now on an automated bid strategy. So you don't really, after you've given it all the correct ad group details, all the relevant keywords, and you've created ads that actually match those keywords, you don't have to really worry about how it is performing. The performance will pick up over 1 to 2 weeks, and you will begin to see that conversions, it is trying to get you clicks that will drive conversions on that page of yours. So we'll share more details around each of these bid strategies and how to set it up in the account. And even towards the end of the session, we'll talk about, in general, if you face problems, what are the sources that you should look for help. uh, After we've understood this, while some bit of it can be automated, there would still be things that you want to go and check, and you want to make changes so that your campaigns perform better. And I'll hand over to Adriza for that.
We just cover the strategies, right?
Yeah, I mean, we
So, any questions over here? The automated bid strategies, a few that Varsha showed, like how is it like? So, are you clear on why we are asking you to use automated bid strategy? Why is the like underlining reason behind it? Uh, Anybody on the GVC wants to take a shot at answering this question? Why we are asking you to do bid strategies and not maybe doing it manually? So I will give an example. For example, Archisha mentioned that she has something like a donate page. So that basically, if you put a bit strategy of, let's say, maximize conversions like we have on this particular campaign, it will work towards maximizing conversions, and the keywords that you have chosen would be entering those auctions where it is working like that. But let's say you have generic campaigns, you really want to capitalize on showing ads on some generic keywords and want traffic to your website. Let's say you want people to know about the work you do. In that case, maximize clicks is a very good strategy to have it. So you can definitely do it on an existing campaign. For example, this particular campaign is kind of paused right now. So if I just edit it, rather click on it, go to the settings page here, and if I see the bidding over here, I can just do change bid strategy. If let's say I want to focus on conversions like all of you want to do, so it can just tell me select a bid strategy which is maximize conversions. So if I would like to go for clicks, it will actually tell me select the bid strategy, which is by default maximize clicks. So basically, the goal that you choose, the system will automatically pop up those options which are relevant to it. For example, if it is conversion, then it would be maximize conversions, or maybe get conversions at a particular target, like Varsha mentioned earlier. But if I want clicks, it would tell me that maximize clicks is your best option to it. So you can do this at a campaign level. It is a campaign level setting, and you can change it at any time. It's not that only new campaigns have to be set up with this strategies. You can go and change it. So maybe whenever you are creating conversion focus, like what is driving to a form sign up or a donation, definitely go for maximize conversions. But if you want people to know about the new program that you have started, or let's say you have done a great work and just want people to know about it, and traffic is important, in that case maximize clicks is quite important. And we also discussed something about the brand awareness part that Varsha mentioned, that let's say you want to have impression share, just to be like, show up as many impressions as possible. So in that case, impression share is like a metric that you want to focus on, and it will ask you where do you want to appear. Anywhere on the results page means that on the top or on the bottom, or let's say only top of the results page means that you have your organic query, organic listings, and over that you have the ads, right? So top of the results page will tell you that you will always appear on those slots, and you can just give a impression share that you want to target, let's say 90%, 85%, however. And you can also mention a max CPC bid limit, which means that I'm not going to bid on a keyword above this. And if you do not, so here I'll give an, let's say, amount and just do a save. And that's about it. But sometimes, just do one more edit. Some bid strategies really do not need you to give any yeah, for example, this clicks one, I have chosen maximize clicks, and it is telling me that this bid limit is optional, which means that the bid is not required at this point in time. Whatever budget that you have for that particular campaign, it will try to exhaust the entire budget and give you as much of clicks as possible. And the same is true for conversions as well. For example, maximize conversions. Over here, as you can see, there is no bid limit option at all, because the main goal that the system wants is to give you as many conversions as possible for the budget that you have set, and you really do not have to manage the bids manually. Exactly why we wanted to kind of introduce this concept of smart bidding to you guys, because as Varsha mentioned, that you guys are managing the digital marketing activity as well, and you have many things to focus on. So if you just set up the campaign, choose the ads, the keywords, and just give the system a goal, it will do a lot of work itself, and you do not have to focus on them like on a daily basis. You don't have to go and change the bids, or let's say uh, keep an eye on it. So this kind of takes away a lot of manual campaign management of your plate, and kind of helps you to deal with other strategic things that might be of importance to you. So, any questions here? We have just covered those bit strategies which is important to you guys, like conversions or clicks, a little bit of impressions, maybe target CPA as well. We are not covering all of this target search page, target outranking, target impression share, because these are kind of competitor based bit strategies, which is definitely not relevant to you. So target CPA, maximize clicks, and maximize conversion is something that is completely relevant to the goals that you want the ads to drive. Uh, any other questions? Artisha, Rohini, Vinay. Anybody else wants to take up any question that they might have? Okay, it doesn't look like people have questions today. Yeah. I'll take this out.
So we can, so this is the other section. So now we spoke a lot about keywords and how people are searching and whether ads are showing for that or not, right? So one way to understand whether we have relevant keywords or not, and then of course, did we cover match types and
We did cover match types a bit, but yeah, today we kind of have more time. So let's take match type a bit.
yeah. So we want to understand that depending upon the keywords that we put into our accounts, what kind of searches did they match with? So for example, I put in a keyword saying NGOs in India. Now, if somebody is searching for NGOs in Hyderabad, NGOs in India broadly, did that match, or did I show up for completely irrelevant keywords such as NGOs in the US or NGOs in the UK, etc.? So why this is important is because if somebody is searching for completely irrelevant keywords that are irrelevant to you and you are still showing up, then all of these metrics that we discussed in terms of the CTR, clicks, and conversions will never really come to pass because the very basis or the beginning that is matching with the right keyword is not happening in that case. So where we really look at where we can access this is again through the search terms report. So you can look at it like when you go into your keywords report, you can select all of these keywords and you can look at the search terms. Now, you look at, or let's, for the sake of simplicity, let's look at one keyword. So we look at Overwatch game. Sorry, sorry, I clicked on option insights.
That has not gotten
Oh,
clicks
okay, okay.
also. So just do a
Yeah,
sort.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I didn't
Put a
realize that.
all time.
So, for example, we have this thing called help desk software. So this was put in for okay, so we have something called Overwatch. So in this case, it has only triggered when somebody has searched Overwatch. Now let's understand the difference between search term and keyword. I think just a second to touch upon that if it's not clear. Keyword is something that we have put in as part of our campaign, and search term is anything that a user has gone and searched on Google search. Now, in this case, the search term and the keyword are both matching. And that's great because then that means that the ads that we would have put in for Overwatch and the kind of strategy that we would have placed it on would have all been relevant. And as a result, it would have gotten clicks. It also has a good CTR, as we can see, of 6.29%. And it would have probably, had it run for a long enough time, it would have probably led to conversions as well. So in case, now where does match type come in is for each of the search terms, if we just go back to the keyword report, you can see something called match type here. So when you look at what match type essentially means is that Google defines broadly, let's say, for the sake of simplicity, there are three types of match types. So exact match, phrase match, and broad match. Within broad match, you also have a broad match modifier and things like that. We'll share more literature around this. But when you say exact match and how you put it in your keywords is you put it between the square brackets. So you go and put it between square brackets to indicate to the algorithm that it is only, for example, Overwatch and nothing else that you want to really appear for. If it's a broad match, you either just put it just like that, like how you can see here, or you put a plus sign in front of it. So what this indicates to the keyword to the algorithm is that if somebody is searching for Overwatch, Hyderabad Overwatch, let's say, or Overwatch near me, or Overwatch now, you want to appear for those searches as well. If you had just put in Overwatch in square brackets, it would have only triggered for somebody searching for Overwatch exactly. That's it. So we'll share more content around match types. It's important to understand match types because for your most important keywords, for example, let's say your brand keywords, the brand of your NGO, you would perhaps want to put it in broad match. You would also want to put it in exact match, and maybe you would want to assign different bids, or you would want to put it under different ad groups with different types of ads related to it. And similarly, then for generics, so like let's say you want to appear for women's education, then you may want to put it as a broad match. Maybe women's education in Hyderabad, you may want to put it as a closer, exact match because you want to really appear for those searches in a different way. Maybe put different ads in place for that, and maybe direct people to different landing pages as well. So for your brand keywords, for example, you may want to direct them to something like your About Us page. For, let's say, you know, volunteer with your brand, you may want to lead them to, like, let's say, a different landing page that leads to a sign up form. So, which is where the search term report really helps us. It helps us understand that what we wanted in terms of targeting, keyword targeting, is that really happening or not? And if you, for example, you go and see the search terms report, you see something like added excluded. So what this tells you is that Overwatch is already added as a keyword in your campaign. Overwatch download is not, but if you think that it is driving good clicks and it is actually relevant to your campaign, you can go and add it as a keyword as well. Then you can have better messaging for that. Or let's say if you see something like arms and shoulder pouch and you think that it is completely irrelevant, you never want to show for this, you can actually go and exclude it. You can add it as a negative as well. So when you add something as a negative keyword, it makes sure that you are not showing for those searches at all. So for example, of course, this is a demo account and it has a different number of different types of campaigns. So for example, Android is added as a negative. So for any of the campaigns, it is added to this Bose earphones campaign. So it would never show up. Any ads for this from this campaign would never show up if anyone was searching for Android. So that is the purpose of negative keywords. And your search terms report can help you identify what you should be adding as negatives or what you should be adding as keywords to make your account perform better. Yeah.
So, for example, this Overwatch phrase, this particular ad group has the Overwatch in broad modifier, as you can see, and the search terms that it has triggered is kind of variation, and only one of this is added. So basically, Overwatch download by Overwatch PC is coming because you have a keyword which is added as like a broad match or a phase match and not in the exact keyword. So this is what we are trying to make you understand is, let's say you put something like Azim Premji Foundation in broad match, anything with Azim Premji in Hyderabad, or let's say apply or programs, your ad will show up. But let's say something, God forbid, Azim Premji controversy, if you add that word controversy as a negative, it will never show up. If you see ads like this has shown up from the search term report and some ads which you did not want to show up, sorry for the example, but kind of like uh, example that we wanted to say, you can just add those keywords which are controversial, which you do not want to have, which you do not want to associate at all. Maybe some brands have like, two brands under the same parent company, and they don't want to appear together because of reasons, and they add negatives as of one brand in the other keyword campaign. So that is how you can manipulate match type negatives and your ads to have a better experience. Any questions today? We are talking a lot, and if you have any questions, please ping on the group or unmute yourself and let us know.
Yeah. And then, okay, then this is a really quick one for us to understand. So, where do the people who actually saw our ad come from? Where are they really located? So, you can actually go into you can actually go into locations and you can go into something called the user location report. And then, because, okay, this is again, like I said, it's a dummy campaign, it has different campaigns created for different tests. You see that there were so many impressions for the US, so many for Brazil, so many for India, etc., etc. Now, within India, if you want to see where, which city, which state, which union territory, you can even see a view of that. So let's say you go into city, you can see that the impressions, maximum impressions came from Mumbai, then New Delhi, Bangalore, Karnataka, Hyderabad, similarly, and so on and so forth. You can change the level. You can see the state. You can see it at a state level. So it just sums all of that up and aggregates it. You can also see it at a postal code level. So it tries and gives data as granular as possible so that you can understand, for example, if for the Azim Premji Foundation, you're running a campaign that is across India, you can really understand which part of the country the interest is coming from and where your ads were shown.
While we were creating the campaigns the earlier day, if you could just go to a campaign and the settings.
Yeah.
So we were discussing on like the locations, and remember we had asked you to just click on like users in your location of interest as well. So let us just dig that.
Yeah. So you can go and define that here.
Yeah. Location.
Yeah.
So yeah, so basically we had asked you to select this people in or who show interest in your targeted location. So while Varsha was showing you the entire location report of country, you might have seen something like searches coming from Russia, even if most of the ads were running for US or let's say India. So what it means that somebody sitting in Russia wanted to search for something in India, and because that person was searching for the location of interest which is being targeted by your ad, the ad did show up. Similarly, we had also discussed that should you be running the ad for all of India, whereas your volunteer program might be in Hyderabad only or might be in Bangalore. So you can see like this from the city description or the city breakdown that she just showed, that where is your majority of traffic coming from. For example, if you see a lot of, even if you are based out of let's say Bangalore, a lot of people from Mumbai or any smaller state is interested, you can run a separate campaign uh, based out of Mumbai, because you're seeing a lot of people generating interest for whatever reason from that particular region. Exactly why this entire location report is so important, because you get to know that where are the searches coming from. Is it from the place which you have targeted, or from an external place from where people are interested in your place? So, any questions again on this? Do you think you can use these reports, these insights to tailor your campaign strategy separately? Yes, no, maybe.
Okay, so just in case you want to add, like, let's say a Bangalore, you can just go and here. So, and this will tell you like what is the potential reach. So you can see that number here. And similarly, if you want to add any other city, you can go ahead and use the settings tab for your campaign to go and change that. Um, cool. So since there are no more questions on this, we'll move on to like the next set. So does my landing page need work? So again, this we discussed in the quality score tab. So basically, you go on to any campaign. Let's go back to all campaigns. You go to the keyword. There are no keywords added here again. 1 second. You add the quality score columns like we discussed. So you add quality score, so here you want to focus on landing page experience. So is that good or bad? And the expected CTR, and you can see the landing page experience historically, how it's been also. So now if you go right, yeah.
Yep.
So here, for example, like it would tell you whether it is above average, below average, average or poor. So in this case, like for example, let's try and sort this and see if there's data. So there actually isn't data for landing page experience because this is a demo account and we don't really send traffic there. But in terms of like how you can see it for expected CTR and historic landing page experience, for example, it shows below average. And the quality score also as a result is really low. It's 1 on 10. So then you understand that you have to work on the landing page. So working on the landing page could mean that you go and improve the content on the landing page, or maybe you go and actually change maybe your landing page is good, but it is linked to a wrong ad. So like we discussed at the beginning, that maybe the content and your ad copy do not match. So in those cases also your landing page experience would come out to be below average or poor. You want to add something?
Yeah. So another tab that you can use is the landing pages. So overall here you see a little different tabs. For example, as you know, a lot of our searches are happening on our phones. We don't generally go to a desktop and then do a form sign up. We would want to do it on the go on our phones. So while people are commuting, maybe they would want to know about what are the philanthropic activities happening around them. So exactly why your mobile landing pages has to be really good. So this is where you can see how mobile friendly is it, how many clicks is it getting. So this is like an overall view, not from a quality score standpoint per se, but like from a overall mobile experience, because we have seen a lot of searches happening. You should be able to be in a position that the form that you have or the donation that you have is happening on mobile as well, because not always people search on their desktop only. People do it on their mobile. So over here you can see the mobile experience for that. So good to keep a check on this, and maybe if it's not great, definitely work with your IT teams to make the experience better.
Any questions on that before we move on to the next section? Okay, so now with all of these things in mind, there's also something called the recommendations tab that you can see here. Um, and this would throw up recommendations basis what you have currently in your account. So for example, right now in this, we can't really see too many recommendations. But for example, if let's say you created an ad group, but you forgot to add or create ads in that. So that would show up here, like it says, get your ads running by adding ads. Or if you've not added enough keywords, or if let's say you have created ads but you've not added extensions, or if you've put ads and extensions as well, but like let's say you do not have enough let's say keywords added to that ad group, you're only putting in one keyword. So all of those recommendations, depending upon how your account is set up, and you would see a different score at each point in time also. A good score is an indication that your account is in a good state, while also, like for example, in this case, this account is a dummy account. There isn't much data in it. So in that case, also at times the score may show up as good. So you really have to go and put in like the structure that you have in mind, the campaigns that you have in mind, try and complete as much of it as possible, and then start to look at this on a regular basis. So create the basic structure, add in the keywords that are important to you, put your campaigns on an automated bid strategy, like we discussed, like either maximize clicks, maximize conversions, and then keep looking at this regularly because it will surface different recommendations every time you look. And you can really go, and all you have to do is go and view recommendation, And if you think that this is a good recommendation for you can download it. It will download in a sheet and it'll tell you where exactly you are missing ads. So you don't really have to go and it opens up in an Excel document, for example. Yeah. So it'll open up in an Excel document. It'll show you
Yeah.
exactly which ad group and which keyword and which campaign the ad is missing in. And then you can go and make that change. So this is again an automated view or an automated way of helping you out with what can be better in your account. So do keep a look at that. And while we discuss some of the other ways in which you can draw insights like the search terms report and your locations report and your landing pages, the optimization score or like the recommendations tab is an overall way of keeping your account healthy.
So for example, this particular ad group doesn't have any ads, so it will just directly take you to that page where you have to create that ad. So this sorry, the recommendations tab where you have an optimization score. This has been introduced fairly newly for all Google Ads account, and depending upon how much activity you have, the recommendations tab would refresh itself. For example, if you run a particular campaign for a fair amount of time, and there are some good ads, there might be automated ad suggestions to tell you that, okay, this particular ad has worked for you in the past. Why don't you add that only in this ad group, which is missing an ad? Because it's a dummy account, there are not ads run for a longer time, but for yourself, you might be seeing that. You might also see some keyword recommendations coming in that, like the search terms report that Varsha explained, a lot of that insight is come put into the recommendations tab. This is basically introduced sometime last year to help advertisers with a lot of automated work so that they don't have to manually invest time with it. So anybody wants to share what they are looking at their recommendations tab, if you have run the campaigns for, let's say, a week or so. Even if you run it for 1 week or 2 week, you might be able to see. So are you able to see some amount of data in your individual accounts over there? Artisha, are you seeing something, because you have run some campaigns as you mentioned? So are you seeing anything in the recommendations tab that you want to share? Okay, there are four. So, for example, it's only repairs for us. You might be seeing something like keywords, ads and extensions, and also bids and budgets. Are you seeing something bucketed like that? Okay. Yeah, exactly. So basically, if it's a account with a lot of data, this recommendations comes divided into four subcategories. One is your repairs, which basically means that you have an ad group without extension, or let's say ads, that would be a repair. Something that would be, requiring you to add keywords or audience lists. If you are targeting something like that, it would come some under keyword and targeting, like Archisha is saying. And if it's around your bids and budgets, for example, your campaign budgets are really low and you need to increase that, that would come under bids and budget. And something like ads and extensions, for example, new ad, adding to a ad group which is performing well, or new extensions, so all that will come under ads and extensions. So do keep an eye on the recommendations tab, because it's really helpful to find things like that. For example, there are some repetitive keywords that you are having, uh, you do not need it, so that's a good way. And also it is telling you how to structure your ads, because if you do not have experience in digital marketing, this tab is really helpful to tell you how to do things the right way from the best practice, from the data it has gathered from your account.
So, are there any questions so far? because I think so. What we had in mind in terms of the content for today's session, we've covered that. So, some of the key highlights were what are the important metrics to keep track of. And then, after we've understood those metrics, go back and tie it to what your objectives are. So, whether it is to drive conversions, clicks, or whether it is to be present on particular search terms. And then we looked at some of the automated strategies that can help you do that without much intervention from your end. Uh, and then, of course, how to optimize that better in terms of things that you will have to go and look in, or maybe insights like locations to understand where your searches are coming from. So, that is broadly what we had in mind for today's session. We wanted to call out some of the checks that you would need to do in order to keep your account active. So, since the last time that we had the session, there have been some updates to the requirements to keep your Google Ad Grants accounts live. So, just to cover that with ad grants, there are limits on your Google Ad settings. So, you have a daily budget limit of $329, which is about 10,000 USD deck. Now, what are the changes that have happened since the last time that this session was done? For accounts that were created after the 22nd of April, and I think a lot of our accounts would fall into this. And some of you are still facing problems in the account setup, so these rules would definitely apply. It requires that you have conversion based smart bidding, and we covered that in this session as well. So you should have one of these smart bidding strategies active on your campaigns. You should have conversion tracking set up as far as possible. So we will be sharing the setup conversion tracking setup process. Do get in touch with the IT teams at your organizations, and they will be able to help you out in putting that code in place, and have that in place so that you qualify for using smart bidding and for using the algorithm that is required to keep the ad grants account live. The other thing to really focus on is quality score, which we discussed. So do not have keywords and try and improve the keywords, try and improve the quality score of the keywords that you have in account. And we discussed how you can do that by having more relevant ads. So ad relevance is one thing that you look at, expected CTR, and then the landing page experience. And for example, and keep going back to the optimization or the recommendation tab, because like Archisha also mentioned, there's a recommendation there for structuring ads better. So that would help increase quality score. And then the other thing to also keep into account is to do not have ad groups or do not have any keywords that are not approved. So take care to, like how Archisha mentioned at the start of the session, that some of the ad groups had ads that were not approved or the landing page experience was really low. So in case of those things, flag that or make changes so that your ads get approved, and do not have single keyword ad groups. Try and add more keywords to your ad groups that you create. Make sure that you've added a geo target. So if your organization only caters to people in Hyderabad, add Hyderabad as your target. If it's all over India, add India as your target. Make sure that your account level CTR is above 5% for the last 7 days of activity. So what this means is you can look at the CTR column that we discussed as part of the metric session and make sure that it is above 5%. If it is not, some of the things that you can do is, again, going back to adding more keywords, relevant keywords, improving quality score. And after you've created your ad groups, make sure you have at least 2 ads enabled over there. And in every campaign as well, make sure that at least 2 ads are enabled and you have site links. So site links are nothing but sections of your website that can be linked conveniently to an ad. So even for an ad that is actually targeted towards driving conversions, you can have a site link that says about us, that says that calls out locations where your NGO is present, or any of the key things. Maybe you look back to some of the frequently asked questions that you get when you do seminars or outreach programs. Those would also probably be the kind of top of mind questions that people would have when they're searching for your NGO. So make sure to add those as site links. And then, does your website comply with policy? So just in case there are any kind of, the details of these policies is all linked here. So you can go and read that. So it should be your own website. It should have high quality. That is, it should have clear description of your organization, mission, activities. And in case it's a commercial activity, that website cannot be linked to an ad grants account. So that of course is not going to be the case here. So just these are the kind of checks that are needed to keep the accounts active under the ad grants program. So please bear some of these in mind. And all of these are actually also designed to keep the account healthy and running to the best possible use, because all of the optimization levers that we discussed in terms of ad quality, relevance, CTR, which would be important as you set up a new account and try and get it to a scale where uh, search marketing really begins to play a big role for you. So, any questions on this? Uma, do you want to add anything to the ad grants policies?
Hi. I no, I think these are important and the appropriate checklist to be mindful of. So once you have campaigns which are ready and running, if you can just like once a month or once in 2 months review the account and check for these things again, that should be good. And in any case or scenario where you think some of these metrics are not being measured and the account has been deactivated for any reason, you can always update and then apply for a review process again. So the entire, all the details are provided in the links which are attached. So they will have all the details.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Atrisha. And in case you have any other questions, there is an ad grants help community for clarifications, and you can go and view that page. Also, a very good way of finding answers quickly is to just put the exact question that you have in mind on Google search and look for articles from support.google.com, which is the official support page from Google for Google Ads, and it would help you figure out solutions to any of the, let's say, optimization problems, or any feature related problems that you have. So if there are any questions, we'll take them now. Otherwise, I think this is broadly, we've come to the end of the content we had for today's session.
Thank you, Varsha and Adriza. I think once you share the deck from today, people can take some time to go through it in detail. And I think for two organizations that are part of today's sessions, once we clear out the challenges that they're facing, I think over the coming week, there should be more that's posted either in our email group, or we'll find a way by which, because they give us an update every Friday. I think it will be useful to give them that time to get back to us. Does that work?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thanks, Rinjo. That works perfectly. I think just like a call out on the Friday updates that everyone has been so diligently sending in. I think we really appreciate it, and it's really helped us keep abreast of whatever issues you guys might be facing, or even like for the great, perfect. If there's, I think everyone's uh, pretty much done. So thanks again
Yeah.
for joining in. And if there are any other questions that come in, just feel free to email us.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Uma and Asta, and thank you once again, Varsha and Adriza.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll keep the conversations going through our Friday updates, and I think Rohini has already asked for a time for this evening. We'll do the same thing for Vinay and his organization Vasan, and we'll take things forward. Have a good day ahead, everyone.
You too.
You
Thanks, you
too.
guys.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.